Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing my 10 tips I follow during O-levels to get a good result. So if you like this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe and comment down below any questions you have. So without further ado, let's get on to the video. So about my O-levels, I was in the 2021 O-level batch. I did 3 subjects in Sinhala, history, Sinhala and religious knowledge, and all the other subjects in English medium. For my market subjects, I chose business and accounting, Western music and ICT. Tip number 1 is going to school is very important because sometimes the teachers might teach very well in schools, and that knowledge may be enough for you to self-study before going to tuition classes. And when studying, you have to come home and look through your notes and study every single day and revise them daily, and make sure to do your homework, complete your notes before your work gets loaded up. One of the biggest mistakes I did was I did not study daily the work that we did during school during that day, and I was kind of loaded up with work, but that didn't quite affect my result because our time was extended for an additional year. So if going to school is really important. Tip number 2 is you have to write for your school term tests. Writing for school term tests is very important because you won't be a beginner to write your O-level exam. You will be familiar with the environment you have to write your exam in, and you won't have any unwanted stress when you write your O-level exam, and you would write it as if it is just a normal school exam. So make sure to write your school term tests, and when you're preparing for your school term tests, you will be ready with syllabus also. Without knowing, be studying your whole syllabus. And the other main thing that you gain by writing for school term test papers is you learn how to manage your time, because even though you study the whole syllabus and you know how to write the answers, if you don't know how to manage your time, you may end up with many questions with no answers because you don't have time, you're running out of time. So writing for school term tests help you manage your time and fix how to manage your time. And another tip from writing school term test papers, you can measure yourself. Like you can measure at what level I am, what subjects I'm weak at, what parts of each subject I am weak and need more attention. So you could pay more attention to those when you're studying next time. Tip number 3 is you have to self-study. This is one of the most important things, and if you are doing O-levels, you have to self-study. You have to allocate a time in your daily routine to study alone. You could study with your friends also, but just going for tuition classes won't help you study or get everything into your mind. So self-studying is important, and when you're doing self-studying, make sure to use different methods to study. Rather than just studying, you could make flashcards, which will be helpful for you when you're revising, and you can make mind maps, and you could write short notes. So yes, self-studying is very important. Tip number 4 is how to manage your tuition. So for me, then I used to go to tuition only for 3 subjects, for science, maths and Sinhala, but starting from grade 11 I went for all the other subjects except for RK, religious knowledge and English. And by the last month, for the subjects I was weak at, I used to go for an additional class, and I recommend that you go for paper classes if you can during the last few months, so you know how to write answers for the questions and how to time and manage your time properly for the exam. And you can self-study. It's totally fine if you don't need tuition classes. You could self-study and write for exam too, but if you have an opportunity, I recommend going to tuition classes. That really helped me. But be mindful when you're going for tuition classes. Don't overdo it. Go to a limited number of tuition classes, because sometimes when you overwhelm yourself with tuition classes, you may not have time to self-study, which is very, very important. So make sure to be mindful about that as well. Next step is to use different ways of studying and revising. Like you could use short notes. By short notes, I personally think that looking at the book and rewriting the same thing won't work. That's my personal way. I don't know how it will work for you, but do what suits you the best. So for me, for short notes, what I did was I used to study and write them down with my own memory and check if they were correct. Only the keywords, like for example, for science, we had a lesson called biosphere. It was kind of hard for me, and it is one of the biggest questions for structured essay in science. So I used to remember that by using a mind map, so it was very easy for me to remember it. And for science and maths, there are laws, theorems and formulas. For science, for physics formulas, I had a separate formula book, and for laws like Newton's law, I had and many more laws, I had a different book for laws. So you could use that when revising. And for maths, it's very important to write your formulas down and your theorems down. Like you have many formulas if it's hard, so every single day you can look through it, and then without knowing you will be familiar with that, and it will be really easy when solving calculations. You don't have to think about it. And for theorems also, there are circle theorems, parallelogram theorems and tangent related theorems. So writing them down is good, because when solving calculations we have to write the reason inside brackets, so that's very important. Tip number 6 is very important. This, I don't even know how to describe how important it is, but that is to do past papers. The more past papers you do, the more familiar you will be with the questions. So I recommend going ahead and buying past paper books, at least the last 10 years past papers beforehand of all the 9 subjects, so you will have them when you need them. And when doing past papers, you have to follow these 3 steps that I used. Number 1, the first step is that you have to try writing the answers on your own. Even if you have studied, or I recommend you studying and writing them, or if you haven't even studied, try writing the answers, the ones that you can remember, and leave the ones that you don't know. And the second step is to look at the answer sheet, take a red pen, mark them and write the correct answers. Don't be lazy, and just don't leave it there. Third step is very important, which is to look at the question, study it, and study the answer that you have written down as well, because that will really help. And that really helped me for mainly science, single history, subjects like that, and also the other subjects. And for maths also, if you couldn't find how and if you couldn't find the answer, you could look at the answer sheet, how they have calculated it, and you can kind of see and try it on your own, and you will be good to go. Doing past papers really helps you when you're studying. You know, from this area there are questions in past papers, because most probably the same question pattern comes every year. So make sure to do past papers so that you will be familiar with what type of questions come in the exams. And main thing that helps is time management. Make sure to give a time limit when you're doing questions, so that you won't get stuck during the exam. You'll be able to manage your time properly. Tip number 7 is how to deal with distractions. Living in a technological area, students like us, we have lots of distractions. Like we have social media. During online schooling, we had hands on phones, laptops, and we had a lot of distractions. So what I recommend is, at least during the last 3 months, try to delete your social media apps. That is what I did. If you can, it's better if you can do it 6 months prior to your exam. But if it's that hard, you could limit your social media time, your time on your phone for like 1 hour a day. And if it's really hard, for me also, I quit YouTube, but at least a video a day is fine, because you have to be considerate of your mental health as well. Especially if you're working hard, you have to have a little bit of entertainment. So that is how you can deal with distractions. Tip number 8 is how to work for subjects that need a lot of practice. By that I mean subjects like maths, accounts and ICT. In that also you have a few calculations, so study how to do those questions, and then after that use workbooks or the questions in your textbook. Like for maths, there are questions in your textbook, they are easy compared to the questions that come in O-levels, so try to buy workbooks that have complex questions or do past paper questions, so that you will be ready for an easy question or for a complex question. So that is how you can do. And for subjects like commerce, for accounts, you have to study the formats of different accounts, how to balance off, or else you will be stuck during the exam when they don't balance off. That would be a disaster, so make sure to practice those stuff as well. Number 9 is how to practice your writing skills for the subjects that you need to write a lot. Like for Sinhala and history, for Sinhala we have to write Vichara, and for history we have to write Rachana Prashna, which are essay questions. And we face a lot of difficulties when we don't know how to manage our time properly, and the marks are allocated for the amount you write, so the more you write the more marks you can score. So try to look at the past paper questions and see from which areas of the lesson past paper questions come, and then pay more attention to those areas, study them well, and time yourself and write answers to those questions alone. And if you want help, you can buy Vishara books. Look carefully how they have used beautiful words to describe the different literature works, so that you could use them in your answers too and score more marks. When you are doing those questions, timing is very important. Like there are questions which we have to write a lot for a very limited time, so make sure to time yourself and write those questions, so you won't be stuck in your exam with timing issues. Last tip number 10 is follow a study routine. I know even if you plan with the work that come up, you won't be able to follow that exactly, but make sure to allocate a time period, set a target to finish this part of the subject during this day, so you have a determination to finish that part during the day no matter what. So yeah, that is how you should allocate your time in your daily routine for studies. So that's it for the tips I have for you today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to like, subscribe and comment down below any questions you have, or if you want any detailed video on how I prepared for each subject. Thank you so much for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.